Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson. Today, I have asked Mark Sumner. He's the president of Daura Gold. They are listed on the TSXV, and the ticker is DGC. Now, I'm pretty excited about this. A friend of mine, Jeff Phillips, said, you need to talk to Mark. They've got gold project, silver project in Peru. And most of you will know last couple of weeks ago, we ran the Australian Gold Conference. Last week, it was IMARC. And I've spent a lot of time, and I don't think Mark even knows this, I've just spent a lot of time with the Peruvian delegation getting to understand what's happening in Peru. They are very much open for business. Things are really getting interesting there. So sit back, ladies and gentlemen, tuck your ears back. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Plus, Daura have just raised some money. I want to find out what they're doing with that. And it was heavily oversubscribed. They've also got some Nearology. They're very close to Highlander Silver, which is, I think, is a market cap of about 500 mil. These guys only listed in January of this year. So they're the new kid on the block, but they are not sitting back. They are getting on with business, putting the drill bit in the ground and getting some great results. So Mark, wonderful to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, first time on Making Money Matter. So I think first up, couple of questions. I want you to tell our beautiful audience who you are, but I want you to include in that why Peru? Why did you decide? Because you're based in North America. What was it about these projects in Peru that drew you to them?
Yeah, I mean, just about my background and why I'm in Peru in the first place. I've been working in South America on a wide range of resource-related projects for many years. Started in Peru probably around 2011 or 12. But we've worked in Colombia, Peru, Chile, Brazil, on a range of different precious metals and base metals projects. Peru has been my favorite place to work for the last 10 years or so. I think I mean, while it's obviously a major copper producer, it's obviously a major silver producer and a range of other metals and resources. But I think that it's still heavily underexplored. Our region is a perfect example, even though it's quite prolific, with some of the very large mines that have been in place in the Ancash department in the past. We're in a very interesting district where there's so much exploration to do. It's seriously under-drilled, and that's what's exciting about it to me. So, as I said, I've been working in Peru for quite a long time. These projects came about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and we have sort of been holding on to it and nursing it along through some very difficult times, COVID and other things.
Oh, yeah.
And the timing earlier this year was just the right time for us to get out, raise some money, and start putting them in play.
How did you get your hands on them? Who had them before you guys? Because I'm going to get into where they are, the district, and what this district's important. But how did you guys get your hands on them?
Yeah, so you mentioned Highlander Silver, and it's worth mentioning their project next door because that was actually it was quite a famous project that was held by a company called SSR, formerly Silver Standard. And they originally drilled out the San Luis deposit, which is a project adjacent to ours, in the around 2006 or 7. And they put together a resource that was show-stopping: 350,000 ounces at 24 grams gold, eight
What?
and a half million ounces of silver at 580 grams silver. So show-stopping grades, and SSR largely made a pivot back to North America and also more away from exploration and towards production. And so their operations in Peru were sort of shelved for quite a long time. As I mentioned, we've been in Peru for quite a long time as well, and we just started acquiring ground in and around Silver Standard's land package. Our flagship asset is called Antonella.
Yeah.
Antonella is where we're doing a large amount of our work. Is where we're doing a large amount of our work right now, and it sits adjacent to San Luis. But even more importantly, or maybe more pertinent to the activity that's going on right now, Highlander's Bonita project.
Yeah.
We acquired that from a local operator. It was never in a public company's hands. It was drilled in 2011 to about 2,500 meters, and then sort of left sitting on the shelf. And as we found out later, when we were putting these land packages together, it was very difficult to get people to listen to the story. Now we're in a gold bull market, we're in a silver bull market. We've got a very well-funded, large neighbor with some very famous names behind it, and that's put some wind in our sails. But the rest of the land package, we can talk about it. We've staked a lot of it. So it was just through simple field reconnaissance and staking through the Peruvian system. And then in mid-June, we picked up a key part of our Antonella, which is land package, which is called Libélulas, to the south and wrapping around Bonita. We picked that up from Barrick in a friendly transaction. So that was a really key pickup and really rounded out the land package. But it's just been steady patience, staking, finding opportunities to get in and work with locals and acquire property as we can. We have another property to the north, about 40 kilometers to the north, which is also a really exciting epithermal gold and silver deposit called Yanamina, which we acquired earlier this year. We closed that transaction, I believe, in June. It has a historical resource, so it brings a lot of value into the portfolio, but it's also very much in line with our strategy of putting together really high quality, high grade gold silver projects.
And from when I was doing some research and having a look, you're pretty much surrounding Highlander silver, aren't you?
Yeah, specifically their Bonita deposit. So that's where they've been drilling. They've been drilling there since I think about July, and they've published some pretty spectacular results between July and current. And I think we'll probably see some more drill results coming from them in the coming weeks. But that land package that we acquired from Barrick effectively surrounds Bonita on all four sides and leaves a small corridor into their greater land package where they've got some other pretty spectacular targets as well. But yeah, that Bonita target where they're drilling and putting together some incredible drill results is where we've effectively surrounded them.
So is the Antonella project, like right next door to Bonita, is that part of, do you think it's part of one continuous epithermal vein system? In other words, do you think this is one system, you're right next to it, and therefore that potentially could be similar?
Yes, yeah, it's in the same structural corridor. We've mapped the veins at surface in Antonella's sort of main zone where we have some past drilling. We've been sampling and mapping those veins, moving in a northwest to southeast trend straight towards Bonita, and effectively tying that together. So we believe it's one continuous mineralized vein system. The sampling results that we've put out in September showed some really excellent grades as well. I mean, we've got several samples over 20 grams, a number of samples 15 to 17 grams gold, 350 grams silver, and very consistent with the results that Highlander is showing from their drilling. We also have some past drilling at the Antonella project, about 2,500 meters, which show also consistent intercepts, similar elevations, and in terms of distance, our main zone is probably about 1,000 to 1,200 meters away. But as we continue to sample and move southeast, we're getting more in the order of 500-600 meters away and continue to move closer. Now, so the most recent results that Highlander put out, which in fact were their highest grade results to date, they put out a pretty spectacular drill hole at over 23 meters at 15 grams gold. That's only about 100. That's only just under 100 meters away from our border to the northeast, where we wrap around them and where we're mapping those veins at surface. So we're a little bit further behind because we're not currently drilling, and we're working towards getting that DIA in place and get some drill permits, which will likely come later next year. But we still have quite a bit of work to do in the meantime to continue drawing those correlations and tying that all together.
Yeah, I want to, excuse the pun here, dig a little bit deeper on shareholder value, which I'll do in a minute. But I know that you've also just raised. So what I want to understand and have our audience understand is the ease of working in Peru, because you just talked about permits. So I want to get onto that in a second. You've raised, I think it was 7 million recently, only a couple of weeks ago. So
Yep.
you've got the cash in the bank. You say you've got plenty of work to do, but it's going to take a while to get these permits in place. So my first question before we get into the cash and the spend there is how difficult, how easy it is to work in Peru. Because I know some people will turn around and go, oh, I'm not sure about Peru. So if you'd like, give us a bit of confidence that Peru is the place to be.
Yeah, in Peru is interesting because it's largely community driven.
Okay.
So in the first instance, social license is by far the most important thing because if you don't have social license, you don't have anything.
Okay.
Getting those community relations up and solid is really the first order of business. So you start with community and then you go from community to proper permitting. So it's effectively asking the community for permission to do a series of work programs, and then having that grant and feeding that into your permitting. So that's what we're doing right now, is that right now, the permit that we put in place in August was largely, it was a surface permit allowing us to walk, sample, map, that sort of thing. We'll also be doing, because we need to do some geophysics, we're going to be doing magnetic survey and LiDAR to look at mapping those veins undercover and getting a clear picture of those veins at surface from the drone imagery. Um, um, but permitting is largely community driven. So once you have social license, you can go forward with your formal permitting with the Peruvian Ministry of Mines. So for us, having a seasoned community relations team in place has always been, for all the years that I've been working in Peru, has always been one of the most important things. And our community relations manager is a guy who's been in the district for about 20 years.
Okay.
He was Another thing that was important to us was to have people that were experienced in our team, our field team, including our field geologists, were formerly Silver Standard team members. So our community relations manager was responsible for putting SSR's previous community agreement in place in 2023, which is the agreement that they handed over to Highlander Silver. And he's been putting agreements in place for us since about 2020, so even before we listed. And after we finish our surface work, we will feed that all into a DIA, environmental impact assessment, and file for those drill permits.
Is the government supportive there as well? Now, I just said, I've spent a bit of time here in Australia with the Peruvian delegation, and they were very much singing the praise of Peru, and Peru's open for business. Do you find it quite easy to work with the Peruvian government? Any challenges there, Mark?
I don't think there are any challenges working directly with the government that you don't really face in other jurisdictions.
Okay.
The process is fairly similar to almost anywhere else where, aside from once you get past community agreement and you achieve social license, it's a pretty simple process that's common across multiple jurisdictions where you file an environmental impact assessment, you get permitting for your drill pads, and the Ministry of Mines in Peru has been actively streamlining that process, and I've seen that come to fruition over the last sort of 10 or 12 years. I've seen it improve slowly, but it continues to improve. And like you said, you met with them, I believe, at IMARC. They were at PDAC last year as well. I believe they're going to be at PDAC again this next year. And they've been actively promoting a streamline and an improvement in the permitting process. So yeah, we're very hopeful that it'll continue to improve and get better. But I don't think it's with. I think that the challenges that most companies face are typically community driven because you have to be able to work within the community where you're operating, where you're located. And that is, and again, I keep harping on about community relations, but I think that that's the biggest issue.
And you know what? I think that's great. You know, if you're not working with the community, you shouldn't be there, quite frankly. But look, we don't have too much time. I want to find out about this raise. You raised 7 million. It was very heavily oversubscribed. People got very
Yep.
excited, Mark. So
Yeah, they did indeed.
tell me about that process, because that was interesting. I think you raised at 25 cents. Your stock has gone up from there. Talk to us about that process, but also talk to us about where those, because again, what I'm looking for is shareholder value going forward. That's what people want to know. You know, why should they give you their hard-earned cash going forward?
Yeah. Well, the capital that we raised, we initially went to market and announced a private placement at $5 million
Okay.
for $5 million.
Yeah.
Had a pretty good sense that that was going to be oversubscribed. I did not anticipate being oversubscribed to the point where we were taking $7 million or more than that, right? So we could have easily taken a lot more than seven. And we wanted to show, a certain level of discipline that, we're not trying to blow out the capital structure. We want to,
Good.
we want to keep it tight and sensible. But those dollars were really raised on the back of just the general excitement around the activity in the area. The drilling that's coming out of Highlander silver and the results that we're putting out showing continuity of these veins, between Antonella and Bonita, has had people very excited. And it's an area where hasn't really been much drilling in the past. Purina was a former Barrick mine about 30 kilometers to the southeast. That was a 10 million ounce discovery by David Lowell many years ago. And Barrick mined that until about 2011. But since then, there hasn't been a lot of activity in this specific area of the Ancash department. There are other very large projects and large mines in that department, but in the district where we're operating specifically, there hasn't been a lot of activity. And now that Highlander and the Daura are both putting out spectacular grades, showing excellent results, that's had the market very excited. What we're going to do, and now we're obviously very well funded as well.
Yeah.
We have plenty of money to get through all of our permitting process. We have plenty of money to get through all of the additional work that we need to do at surface and geophysics, proving up these targets and then going into drill targeting. And we'll have money to drill as well once we secure the permits. So that's really the strategy around how we're going to spend the capital. But the process was quite interesting. It's been a long time since we've had a market like this, so
Tell me about it.
I haven't really quite experienced anything like that in a very long time. But it was very well received, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, by a lot of people. Just quickly, a couple of things. We haven't touched on Yanamina Gold, which is 40 kilometers to the north. Why did you pick that project up?
Yeah, Yanamina is very interesting. So it's, as you said, it's 40 kilometers to the north of our main zone. It's another epithermal gold and silver deposit. It's got a historical resource of just over 200,000 ounces of gold. There's an interesting silver credit there as well that we want to explore. The company we acquired it for actually interpreted the resource from 43101 away from 43101 to JORC, and they added 1 million ounces of silver. So we're looking at that as well, but it's very near surface, very high grade, broad high grade intercepts throughout the deposit area. Just some of the standout drill holes: 37.5 meters at 5.5 grams gold, 31 meters at 4.6 grams, and many others. So it's just a spectacular target. It fits right within our strategy of acquiring these high grade near surface epithermal gold and silver deposits. And it's right in our backyard, 40 kilometers north. So logistics are not a challenge. It was just a very natural addition. And we got the project under terms which give us plenty of time to work within that community, put together our social license, and then start working towards permitting.
What were the terms of the deal? Just quickly.
Yeah, so the total value of the acquisition was just over $6 million. But the first 2 years, we're paying $150,000 cash payments each year. So we've made one payment. We'll make another one in June. And that effectively gives us all the time that we need to secure permits. The rest of the cash payments are largely tied to significant milestones like securing of permits, drilling, and then subsequently taking decisions to mine, construction, that sort of thing. So the cash payments are largely back-ended, and it gives us a couple of years to get social license, get our permitting done. There's work to do there as well. There's only 3,700 meters of drilling at that project, and the drilling was really spectacular. So we think that it presents also an opportunity to do a lot of step-out drilling and add ounces in the ground. For Daura shareholders now, we also have an opportunity to bring that resource into a current 43-101 and deliver a maiden resource for Yanamina, which we anticipate doing in the next couple months.
Wow. There's a lot going on because I'm talking to him, ladies and gentlemen, just before both of us head to the New Orleans Investment Symposium, which is literally next week. I'm hoping to get this out before then. I know Jeff Phillips is going to be up there. Now, Mark, you're a substantial shareholder, and Jeff Phillips, who's no dummy, he's also he's come into it as well. Just talk to us very quickly. What did Jeff? I'm sure you've spoken to Jeff. What did he like about the project? Because then we're going to have to finish up and get ourselves together.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, Jeff has been great. I've been working with Jeff on this really from the very beginning. Jeff came into the placement in January. He came in as an advisor, and he's been advising us through all of these processes, not just on promotion and marketing, but also on management of cap table and the capital raising and things like that. He's been key for me as a key advisor, helping us position the company for success, and he has done so effectively. But I think there are a number of things that I can't speak for Jeff, but there are a number of things that I think make him sort of enthusiastic about the project and enthusiastic about the company. And I think it's a lot of it's technically driven, just because we've got a great deposit. It's underexplored. We're next to a very large company that's incredibly well funded. Highlander's backed by the Augusta Group, which is Richard Blork, he's been serially successful in building up and selling companies. The Lundin family and Eric Sprott. So some very famous, prominent names are backing that company, and we believe we've got something very similar. It's just a little bit earlier. So wow. As we move forward, I think we have an opportunity to play a little bit of catch up and start proving the worth of our assets. And I think that's what I talked to Jeff about.
Fantastic. Well, that was a nice wrap up of what you've got. I'm sure we'll have you back on again. I will see you next week at the New Orleans Investment Symposium along with Jeff and a ton of other people that will be up there, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, I will send you a note out about there. I will be doing some lives from up there as well. But Daura Gold, as I said at the start, they're listed on the TSXV. The code is TGC. For those of you in Australia, you can use Interactive Brokers to be able to buy the shares. Not financial advice. Do your own research or come to New Orleans. Speak to Mark in person. That could be fun.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'd love to see you there.
I look forward to seeing you up there. And in the meantime, thanks so much for joining me on Making Money Matter.
Thank you very much.